The International Space Station has to go through quite the predicament to get something that so many of us take for granted on a day-to-day basis. That is assuming one has a good provider. While aboard the International Space Station, the internet is something that currently can only be accessed during short intervals when within the line of sight proximity of an earthbound station, which is great as the International Space Station is one of the biggest satellites out on the orbit of the Earth. But unlike a good communication satellite, the International Space Station isn't exactly static in Earth's orbit and loves to roam the blue planet, getting to see quite the array of land formations along the way. This is a challenge to the engineers, as an antenna aboard the International Space Station that is pointed down to Earth is going to have quite the changing view over time that impedes the communications when over, say, an ocean. Some engineers are placing those thinking caps atop their head and are in the process of developing new types of communication equipment to be installed aboard the International Space Station that will allow an uplink no matter the current orbit of the International Space Station. This new technology will use the many array of static satellites that orbit even above the International Space Station to beam data over to these satellites first, and then the data will be relayed back to the Earth to allow communication to flow. This is great, as the internet is starting its great expansion to the depths of our species' ever-reaching space programs that will most certainly be able to utilize the newest internet protocol address space of its newest revision, dubbed IP version 6, that has about 340 trillion addresses versus its older counterpart IP version 4 that only clocks in at about 4.3 billion addresses. It will be interesting to see how the internet links will be set up when we look to the scolding depths of, say, Mars, that can even have the sun blocking a direct line of sight back to Earth. This will open the doors for some interesting engineering challenges, though. And it seems as though satellites tracking one another and creating a link via a directional beam of data will be the ultimate winner, as interplanetary fiber or wires in the depths of space would seem far-fetched at best. Also, let's just hope not one too many asteroids get in between the satellite links, else communication can be disrupted. And what engineer wants their technology to be the sole reason we can't get a distress signal back to Earth from our friends who wind up at Mars?